Hello and welcome to the Vineyard View. I'm your host, Ann Bassett, coming to you from MVTV, community television here on Martha's Vineyard Island. Today, my guest is Susan Sanford, and we're going to talk about Vineyard Complementary Medicine. Now, a lot of you say, oh yes, that's the physical therapy place. Well, they do a lot more than just physical therapy, and Susan's going to tell us all about it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm excited about this because you have completely fixed me in the past, and you're helping to fix me now. And I am glad that we're able to talk about the many, many things you do and your fabulous staff. So first of all, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. So how did you get to Martha's Vineyard?
I was just talking to somebody about this. I was a traveling physical therapist for about 2.5 years. I traveled all over the country, in mid-20s. I had to get out of Connecticut, which was where I'm originally from. And I decided to travel, and I went all over the country, Texas, California, Colorado. And after about 2.5 years, I was ready to come back to New England, but didn't want to be on the Long Island Sound. So I knew I wanted to be somewhere on an island. I checked out Nantucket. Got a lot more reception from the, kind of the interactions I had with the Vineyard. Ended up getting a job at the hospital, and that's where I started as a physical therapist. So I was there for about 6 years, and that's how I got here. So this is my last travel assignment, and that was 23 years ago.
What prompted you to go out on your own?
Well, I had graduated. I got my undergrad in physical therapy. Then while I was working at the hospital, I decided to go back and get my master's degree in acupuncture. So I felt strongly about staying here and keeping roots. So I traveled back and forth to Boston, 3 years full-time, year-round, to get my graduate degree and my master's degree in acupuncture. Once I got that, I knew I wanted to practice acupuncture. Got my master's degree, spent a lot of money, had a lot of student loans, and that's where I hung up my shingle. And I got a little small office in Vineyard Haven, and I started to see my acupuncture patients. Was still working at the hospital, and it really just morphed into this practice. So I was trying to just do a little acupuncture, and it just really the universe really pushed me into just going out on my own. And all I really wanted to do was have a little acupuncture clinic on the side, and it kind of groomed itself into this, basically manifested into what it is today. So I kind of didn't have control.
Synergy.
The universe really kind of pushed me into that. But that's really how it was. Really becoming an acupuncturist that transitioned me to go out on my own.
Ah, okay. So when did you move to West Tisbury, and when did you find Susie Radcliffe?
Well, so Susie's been hanging out with me for almost 10 years now. So let's see, the time frame is 2003 was when I ultimately, opened up my little acupuncture clinic, and then went out on my own. Was in Vineyard Haven for a few years, and then I met the mentor, who is Joe Corbo. So he has recently moved off island. He is a physical therapist that owned 17 clinics in Connecticut. Him and I connected, and he really helped facilitate me into growing my practice. I was just a kind of one woman show, all by myself in a little office down behind, right next to the Down Island Cronigs. So a small little office there. And he is the one that really was like, this is what you need to do. And so him and I purchased the building in West Tisbury. And that was 2005. And that's where it really kind of really blew up.
Mushroom.
Yeah, and so we were in West Tisbury starting in 2005. And I think Susie started maybe 2008? Yeah. And she was a traveler too. So all of us were running around the country, and then we settled here.
Oh, well, for heaven's sakes. Well, yeah, Susie was my favorite. Now, when people come to you now, and I'm going to go back to Dr. Monto, because I first met you, I think it was 8 years ago at least. Dr. Monto, I had a rotator cuff problem and went to Dr. Monto, and he said, I think we don't have to do surgery. I think physical therapy will fix it. I'm sending you across the street. And so that was my first time, and when I first met you all. You did the intake, and I'm sure there's a better word for it, but anyway, you did the complete analysis on what he said. He had said the rotator cuff, and you said, yes, it is the rotator cuff, but he missed that you have 2 pinched nerves in your neck, and we really have to work on those as well. Now, that was impressive, and you were right. And I've heard other people talk about how you have found out what's really going on. You have diagnostic skills. How did that happen?
Well, and I am so old. If anyone's a physical therapist, they know how old I am because I have a bachelor's degree in physical therapy. People are like, what? What are you, 100 years old? So I was the last class that graduated. So here's where I'm going with that. So you get a bachelor's degree. When you get a bachelor's degree in physical therapy, honestly, they teach you enough to not kill somebody. They teach you you have a really good solid base, but you're not specialized. You know enough that you have a good foundation and that you really, you don't hurt anybody and that you do no harm, which is the Hippocratic Oath. So when I really don't feel that I really became a really good therapist until after I graduated from acupuncture school. And that's where I really learned how to heal, and they teach you common sense medicine. After I graduated from acupuncture school, I then went and got an advanced certification in sports medicine acupuncture. And that really set the foundation for orthopedic diagnostic assessment and really kind of gave you the skill set. So not only did I have the really good solid foundation of a bachelor's degree in physical therapy, just enough to enough to get you a job, get your license, and not do any harm. But then, then the acupuncture degree and then the sports medicine acupuncture really solidified my orthopedic diagnostic assessment. So that's really kind of how I culminated into being more of a detective and having the evidence-based skill set to problem solve. So, because you're really a detective. When you're a physical therapist and you're presenting, with, in our clientele, they're coming to us and they don't know what's wrong. It's not like, going to the hospital where they're post-op and you have a set protocol. People don't know what's wrong with them. So you have to be a detective.
Exactly. And you are, and you're good at it.
Thank you.
Just saying. You do so many things besides physical therapy, but we can start with that. I know that because I'm working now with Healthy Aging on Martha's Vineyard, which they're doing a wonderful pilot program on modifications in the house so that elders can age at home.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of how many elderly people, and I did elder care for a while, how many people have problems with their balance, and that upsets everything in their life. They come to you because you need to help them reestablish their sense of balance. How do you do that?
So, one, you assess somebody. You assess somebody for safety. So, and you just find out where they're at. So, one, safety is first and foremost. Because, people, falling is a problem.
Oh.
And actually through the Dukes County Health Council that I'm on, they did a great study, way back when about fall risk assessment. And as a physical therapist, one, you want to screen people for prevention and safety. And two, and then, help people identify and make sure that they're, where they are right here and now, that you make them as safe as possible. And then through the kind of the rehab part of it, there's a couple different things. You want to look at, there's different strategies. So people need to, have good, ankle range of motion and ankle reaction. So if you ever shove somebody, the first line of defense is your feet go back, and then making sure that people have the proper, reactions. Everybody loses their balance, some people have the philosophy that walking is a controlled fall. You know what I mean? And which, it's up to interpretation. But it's, everybody stumbles. It's just how gracefully you respond to that. So from a physical therapy standpoint, you assess people's reactions to, to losing their balance, and then you treat it appropriately. If somebody has really stiff ankles, well, they're not going to have that first line of defense, and then so it's about, getting their balance reactions. Also, it comes back to their core. There's the correlation hand in hand that stability goes, stability here goes with your stability walking. So yes, you have to make sure that the people have access to their balance reactions. If you don't, that's when you need to compensate, and then just get strong. The stronger you are, I mean, obviously flexibility for the balance reactions, but really, core. It comes down to your core, because that's, this is your foundation, right? Your box.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll talk about the box.
You do.
So it's really, it's assessing, it's teaching people how to deal with what they have right here and now. And then to get better, it's about assessing the balance reactions and then making them, making people stronger. And then also looking around. I mean, they did a great job on this island through that fall risk assessment about assessing sidewalks and safety and, transportation access. And so, this island's got a lot of great resources for that. So it's really great that you asked about that.
Oh, well, and this island is a community, and we look out for each other, and there's caring in how people approach each other. So thank you for bringing that point up. My mother lost her balance, and she just decided she wasn't going to do anything about it. We all said, oh, and there are exercises, and no, so she got a walker. And of course then lost mobility and ended up in a wheelchair. And hated the wheelchair and, brooded about until she realized that the wheelchair could get her what she wanted, which was going out to lunch every day. So she learned to embrace the wheelchair. But, her life would have been very different. Now, I do back exercises every day. A lot of people I know do back. Oh, absolutely. Are there things that you recommend that people do every day? Yoga, stretching?
I have had this philosophy since I was maybe like 21. Just do something every day. Something. It doesn't matter what. Like, do something for self-care. And it really depends on what you do. If you're doing something where you're bending forward all day and and just do something that creates balance in your life. So if you're doing forward bending or you're sitting all day, well, what's your something every day should have something to do with back bending, rather than doing a bunch of sit-ups. If you're sitting all day, then you should just move. So do something every day. And people really need to trust their intuition. People know their bodies better than anybody, so if you just have an inclination, just trust yourself and do what you feel like you need. So that's a very vague question, but should you do something every day? Well, yeah, you should do something every day. But I think in this day and age, if you put me on the spot and you had to pick, I don't know, one or two things, the one thing, because we spend so much of our lives sitting, we spend so much of our lives on the phone, on the computer, then that something every day needs to be going backward.
Exactly.
Just to balance it out. Again, bringing physical therapy in with the acupuncture concept, yin and yang, balance one with the other. If you're spent all day forward, do something that brings you backward. That's my vague kind of non-answer. Just do something every day.
And I agree. I told you I do editing 5 hours a night. And that's a lot of sitting. But I drink a lot. I drink 100 ounces of water a day. So I'm in the bathroom every half an hour. So I have to get up to go to the bathroom. Then I have to get up and keep the fire going. Then I have to get up to go get more water. As long as you keep doing something, as long as you get up, as long as you move, stretch while you're up, etc. But anyway, you didn't say yoga. Tell me about your feelings and observations about yoga.
Well, I snuck in a half-hour class right before I got here. That's why I'm dressed the way I am. Yoga. So I'm not a certified yoga teacher. I integrate yoga into my life. Chris Martin is, she is endeavoring on doing yoga. I think it's a great balance, So I'm all about, as a healthcare practitioner, you got to practice what you preach. you got to walk the walk, you got to talk the talk. And if you are a like soda slugging, slug that's sedentary, I love my alliterations, soda slugging slug that sits all day, then you really shouldn't be practicing, health and whatever. So yoga is part of my routine for self-care because I love working out. I have to work out. At this point, I've been working out since I was probably 17 years old, and love to do strength training, but you have to balance it out. And for me, if I don't do yoga at least once, so we were talking before about sleeping and arms going numb. If I don't do yoga at least once a week, I will get like arm numbness and neck tightness. Because that's my antidote for and even though my job is active, but we're on the laptop all day. And it's just, kind of doing that, not total sedentary, but just the posture that it kind of like sucks your face into. The computers are like going to be the end of us. But going back to yoga, the answer is yes. I love it. It's very beneficial to me, and it just creates balance. And it's also like, there's so many different styles of yoga out there, whether it be, core yoga or, yoga with intention of flexibility, or also just the calming thing. I've also, really embraced the part of yoga that just kind of like, makes you still and grounded and just more thoughtful. So, yes.
I love everything you just said. That is terrific. And of course, I'm too old to get down on the floor. I really am. So there's chair yoga for older people. And the senior centers do them. Of course, everything is Zoom now. In the times of COVID, the world is upside down and we're struggling. But you're still open and you're still doing things. And besides physical therapy and acupuncture, what other things are you doing at the clinic?
So, physical therapy, acupuncture, therapeutic massage. We got some reiki going on, and two of our practitioners, one acupuncturist, Ty, and Susie, are both zero balancing practitioners. And are you going to ask me what that's all about?
Okay, so I'm going to ask you what that means.
It's like, okay, so my interpretation, and I hope I don't get yelled at, but my interpretation of what zero balancing is that it's a very light touch, structural balancing treatment. So and I know they're very different, and I'll probably get, I hope I don't get in trouble for comparing them, but it's a little more kind of like structural alignment version of almost like craniosacral therapy. So it's energetic, and it also ties in acupuncture, because it then also works with the organ system. So I don't practice it. I've only had it done to me. I I know about it from, both practitioners working at it. But so that's the other. So physical therapy, acupuncture, therapeutic massage, reiki, and zero balancing.
And what happened to your chiropractor?
Well, COVID.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Didn't want to commute.
Right.
Right. And understandable.
So, so we are, and I think I really feel chiropractors are, I think, essential. I think they're an essential part of the service that we provide. Structural alignment. I mean, our spines are the center of our immune system, and they're specialists in spinal alignment. So I just think that their service is just such an added value. So I will strive. My mission for 2021 is to really, bring that back into our clinic, because I just think it's so valuable.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I will look forward to that. In the meantime, is there anyone on the island that you recommend?
There's lots of great practitioners. But everyone's got their own different style. So it just depends. So I would it really just depends. There's network chiropractors out there that are just very kind of like, more zen and more energetic and do more light touch. There's chiropractors that don't crack and you use the activator. So between, there's, you've got, Darty's office, you've got Jameson, you've got, Kay in Vineyard Haven right now that we're referring to. So there's there's chiropractors on the island who, you know, have their own practices. You know, there's the, there's just so many people.
Good. Good to know. Good to hear that. Do you get adjusted every now and again?
I do, every chance I get, but I haven't in a while.
Okay. Now, again, other services and other things that you do. There's a little notice in your office that says once a week you offer people help with, among other things, addiction. Tell us about that.
So there is a 5-point ear protocol. That's it's called NADA, the National Acupuncture Detox Association. So that's what it's based on. So we actually have a few free clinics coming up that I'll tell you, but on Mondays for $20 you can come and get your 5-point ear protocol. And it's set up for detox, but the reason why it works so well with addiction is because it really kind of resets your whole central nervous system.
Wow.
So now we're really inviting, you know, people who are having, you know, stress, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, because what do you need for that? You need a central nervous system reset. So you get your ear points put in and you're like, whoa, and it just really kind of calms everything down. So that's what's important when you're having, when you're trying to detox from alcohol, medications, pain meds, sugar, cigarettes, that's what your system needs. So mentally you're done with them, but your central nervous system is kind of misfiring and giving you weird signals, so that's where it really comes into play. Same thing with anxiety and, PTSD. It just really helps to reset it. So Mondays, we are doing a clinic Mondays at 6 o'clock. And then Ty has collaborated with other acupuncturists on the island to do some free sessions. So we were celebrating World Acupuncture Day back in October. So we invited everyone to come in, focusing on healthcare practitioners and teachers. So we invited them to celebrate that. And then we're doing 3 more clinics throughout the rest of the year. I think the next weekend is, oh gosh, I hope I remember this in order. The weekend of Thanksgiving, we're going to honor, I think, first responders and vets.
Nice.
So Ty is going to open up the clinic and offer free ear acupuncture. So we're just really trying to get the kind of the service workers who have been out there the whole time, probably feeling a little underappreciated, between the teachers, the healthcare workers, first responders, of course, the veterans out there. We're targeting the, grocery store, workers as well, and the delivery people. So we got the post office and, the FedEx and the UPS people as well. So we've got those clinics set up, and those are going to be announced, and all those dates will be, on the Facebook page and our newsletter and on our website. So.
Wow.
Stay tuned.
I love that outreach. That's really marvelous. And you're right about essential workers. And this is something that I have seen just within the last, say, 3 or 4 weeks. When there's an emergency, and COVID certainly is an emergency, people can hold themselves together. I can do this, I can get this. We're now having COVID fatigue. And I actually found out today that someone I know who's been okay, started to crash last week, and today had a heart attack and was taken to the hospital. We have to take this seriously, and you have to work preventatively, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone's like so stressed. And
yes.
they're, and then they're just...
It's hard.
Yeah, it is really hard. It's exhausting, and nobody's moving enough, and everyone's stuck at home and sitting in their chairs. And
the kids are schooling on the computer. That's hard. It's all very difficult.
I told you, I just did my Facebook Live last night on, student slouchers and slumpers, and I kind of had my little soapbox rant. I'm like, this is so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not moving, they're not getting, their physical education. They're sitting on their butts all day. I showed you how I found my son the other day, which was horrible. I hope I don't do it. If you want me to demonstrate, I will. But think about it. The fallout, not only emotionally, with this, but, physically, I just watch my kids sitting in their chairs all day, not going between classes, not going to gym class, not going to PE, not going to after school sports, and they're just sitting in their chairs and growing in that position.
Yeah.
So, makes me crazy.
Right. It's very difficult I want to get back to things that we have to learn about ourselves. I had to learn that statins eat my muscles. I mean, not just make them hurt, but eat them. I snapped my bicep muscle and had to have it surgically reattached.
Gobble up those enzymes.
I first learned when I was doing stretching exercises and did in my Achilles tendon. You know, stretching is good for you. I know that, but I learned that, but I can't take statins and do that. So I'm actually in better shape now than I was at that time. And all doctors want you to be on statins. Yeah?
Yeah. My dad had the same thing. He struggled. He was going golfing. He's like, my legs are killing me. And come to find out they were the statins.
Yeah.
And the doctor is like, whoa, what do you want to do? You want to play golf or do you want to have a heart attack? He's like, I'm going to play golf.
Good for him. I'm with him. Yes,
but
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, medications are, I just, that's a whole nother soapbox I can go on. It's just, people just need to just take better care of themselves and just do prevention and move and do something every day. Just do something every day so you don't end up on with your medication list like this long.
Oh, right. That's another thing. Now, when I first saw you about the pinched nerves in my neck, you said that I had teenage boy syndrome and that I was looking down at my phone all the time. And you're right. And I read a lot. So you said, get a pillow, put the pillow under your arms and hold the book very simple, but it works. Support your neck, because I was sitting with my neck sort of. Little things can make huge differences in how we respond to what we are doing without even being aware that we're doing it. Yes?
Yes.
What else do you want us to be aware of?
I think just posture these days. I just assessed somebody the other day and, okay, they've gotten a little better and this and that. And, and then we just start talking about, okay, well, what are you doing during the day? And they're like, well, I'm sitting at my desk. And I'm like, okay, do you get up? No. So it's just this whole sedentary thing. I think it just goes back to posture and alignment because, well, one, it's going to prevent pain. Two, again, our spine is is the center of our immune system. I mean, our whole central nervous system is there, and all the nerve roots that come out of each level of our spine innervate our different organs. So if we're, if we can just really focus on just being open and, I talked to you about my 6 Bs and integrating kind of just a little movement strategy and just kind of just screw our heads on a little bit tighter and just be a little more mindful about how we move. And when we're not moving, what position we're in when we're that. Because, just even little things like, well, I kind of chastise you a little bit about I'm like, you're like a teenager.
That's right.
And why are we so hard on teenagers is because for every increment that your head is forward of your ears, right? Mm-hmm. So what are our noggins right now? Maybe weigh 12 to 14 pounds. But for every increment that your head goes in front of your shoulders, my head now feels like it weighs 40 pounds. Yeah. And those muscles get really mad.
Oh, right.
So I just think that we just need to be mindful and move.
Good.
Another alliteration.
Good. Okay. A couple of other sort of basic questions that come to my mind. So do you take all insurances, and do people have to have a prescription from a doctor to go see you? How does all that work?
We take most insurances. The only one we really don't take is unfortunately Mass Health. Because we just don't get paid enough to stay open. And and unfortunately I wish I did. We did for a long time. Almost lost my business because of it. But so unfortunately, the hospital has big endowments. So that's the only one we really don't take. But most of the other insurances that people have here, everything from Medicare to Blue Cross, Harvard Pilgrim, Always. There's BMC still. What did I miss? Tufts, workers' comp, auto. And do you need a physician's referral? It depends. So if you're Medicare is the big one that really guides the way for some insurances. So they require a doctor's referral after the initial evaluation. So you could still, as a Medicare patient, walk in the door and get your evaluation, but then when you want to get the second visit, you have to just get a doctor's referral still. So
I see.
someday, hopefully, that won't be the case. But that's really, the big one. So, and some insurance companies require authorizations. But, really people, and what we stress is do your research. People really need to just become a little more advocates about, their coverage. And we, as far as I'm concerned, we really go over and above. We verify, we check, and we communicate. So, when you come to see us, I want to make sure there's no surprises. The last thing I want is you hear so many stories about other places where, surprise, after 6 months they get this giant bill. I thought I didn't have a copay, and they get a huge. So, sometimes you need a referral, and we will tell you. But for the first visit, typically you can always walk through the door and get an appointment.
Oh, good to know. And Chris runs a tight ship. She answers your phone. She's very active in the office.
She is a queen. So I am so grateful. So, bringing up the staff, my staff are rock stars. And, so on the front end, you've got, Chris and Dee, and, Chris is amazing. It's Dee that runs the tight ship.
Okay.
So she's like the behind the scenes, and she's the one that really finds out what your insurance covers, what the verification is, and what you need to do to make sure that your insurance gets you covered.
Good to know. Now, one of the things that fascinates me about your business is how good you are at outreach and how good you are at marketing. And so you need to tell people about the newsletter, you need to tell people about the website and the Facebook page. So bring us all up to date.
Okay. So after, let's see, maybe it's been 2 years now, I finally feel like a big girl business owner because I hired a marketing person.
You did?
Which was just as scary as when I was, in business for that first 2 years, and you hire, you work alone, and you hire your first receptionist.
Yes.
How can I afford to do that? And then once you do, you're like, how did I ever function without it? That's right. And so it really took a long time to get there, and that so. So yes, we have done a lot of great work, but I have had really good help.
Oh, good.
So we have our, our newsletters, and, Barbara Welsh is our marketing coordinator. And you want to talk about running a tight ship? She's amazing. And so really I give her a lot of credit for getting that all organized, and and integrating it, and we do have a program, but and they set us up, and it helps to integrate the media with what we do, basically just correlating what we do between Instagram, Facebook, and dual newsletter. But she really pulls it all together and gets the staff involved in getting pictures and and happy patient stories about success stories, and so that's. 2 years ago, I pulled the trigger and I did it, and it's been really great because it's something I would never be able to do on my own.
Well, it's all very effective because I'm aware of the fact that I get the newsletter, and so I find out what's been going on and what free things are coming up. You're very good about advertising that there are free evaluations, that there are free things that people can avail themselves of. But secondly, I get things in the mail. You send out a mailer that has all kinds of levels to it about what's going on. So, Susan, it's working. It really is.
And it's a lot of work, but it just, for so long, it made me a little crazy because you're doing all this good work, and we've been in business for 10 years, and then you come across somebody be like, who are you? What's your business? Never heard of you. And I'm like, what? How can that be? This is such a small island.
Yeah.
So then, and that made me realize, then we're not doing a good enough job of putting ourselves out there. So yeah, and the free screenings are really, I just talked to somebody the other day. they don't know, and maybe they didn't have a good experience somewhere, like, somewhere else, or they're, kind of curmudgeon, and they're just like, that won't help me, or whatever. It just gives somebody just an opportunity with, just a quickie assessment, even just checking us out and coming, is this somewhere I want to be, or, what are you going to do for me?
Yeah. Well, I was so upset when you left West Tisbury because I could walk to your office. I miss that. But I have to say, love the new space. And you've really got space.
I love the new space. We're so happy.
Yeah, it really works.
We're actually kind of outgrowing it already.
Oh, Lordy.
I know.
Right.
Well, especially with the whole COVID and, making sure that, it feels safe and open, so we have a limit on how many practitioners and who's in there, so that, with that, we're actually, looking at, making sure that we can go out into the community. So we actually are working on that.
Really?
Yeah, as we speak.
Oh.
Yes. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'll have to come back and give us an update.
Yeah, this is a good winter project. Yeah.
Good,
yeah.
good. Okay, Susan, what have I not asked? Where would you like to take us next?
What did I miss? I just, I just want to just talk about how awesome my staff is, and about the whole transition, and kind of the shift that everybody just did so gracefully and so well come March, because things are changing, and things change so much, and we didn't have to shut down in March, because technically we're considered an essential service. I just felt it was prudent. We closed the doors, and we went from a typical traditional, treatment setting for physical therapy, and we just trained, shifted to telehealth. My staff was like, bring it on. They were just so incredible with the transition, and I think just we have adapted really well. And I give the credit to how wonderful that my staff just was like, okay, what do we need to do? And ready and willing to just go over and above the call of duty to do outreach, to do, go out in the community and go check in on people, doing home visits and home deliveries, and then, kind of and really kind of getting ready for making sure that we are really adaptable for whatever the future holds.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said, because we don't know. And that's part of why there's so much stress, is that we can't even really envision what it's going to be like 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. Yeah, it's very, very stressful times. One of the things I love about being in your place is there is a sense of camaraderie. I've chatted with the person in the next exercise table. They're doing their exercises, but we have a chance to touch base a little bit, and I'm interested in what they're doing, and while I'm, working my own stuff. But the crowning achievement for me at your place is the biobed. That to me is the reward for all of the work. Describe the biobed. I wanted to buy one. I don't have that kind of money, but describe the biobed.
You can, I will make sure that you can borrow one for the weekend. It's, kind of like being a drug dealer. You hear, Ann, you borrow this for the weekend. You just let you here. It's okay. So I love my biomat. I love it so much. I was just talking to, one of my colleagues today, and I'm like, I will do whatever it takes to be able to share this amazing tool. So it's a product that came across my way from one of our chiropractors, Tracy, way back when, and it's a far infrared heating pad with amethyst crystals. So, I'm sure everyone's heard something about the healing effects of far infrared heat. It's connected with amethyst crystals, which are, obviously crystals have a lot of healing energy, but the scientific kind of basis of how amethyst crystals work is they're a superconductor. So they help you to draw the far infrared heat deeper into your body so that you get, you get the heat and you get the effects at a cellular level. And then there's a whole other concept of creating negative ions. So, negative ions are like the happy ions that you get with, waves, waterfalls. And And the way that it works is the heat, it's got a converter. So it's not just like, oh, well, I have an electric blanket or electric heating pad, but that's alternating current. An alternating current has effects of EMFs and stuff. So the biomat converts the alternating current to direct current, DC current. And this is kind of getting a little scientific, but our body's electrical makeup is more in line with that. So I sleep on my biomat every night. And what better compliance?
Wow.
Like, how much better can you get when you just sleep on something? Yes, it's passive, but you're doing it every day. And honestly, it makes you nicer. It makes me nicer. I've watched it. I've watched my children. So my kids were so little. It was a cold day. I actually was sharing my biomat with my family. It was on the couch. Now, normally they were on the couch. They were young. They were getting ready to go to preschool. And they're like, every morning, MJ,
Right.
Sonia was trying to kick MJ. And this is just a normal routine. I put the biomat on the couch, right? This is the first morning that it's on the couch. I'm normally hearing the, and I look around and they're like, oh,
Exactly.
hi. She's like rubbing his head and they're like, oh, and I was like, it was so distinct. The day before and every day before that, they were like, and then the day I put the biomat on, they're like, oh, and I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And so that just reiterated, I actually think it does make me nicer. And it really just, okay, let's do a little vanity thing. It's really good, for weight control and weight loss because, heat increases your metabolism. Really helps me feel like I boost my immune system. I actually just got an email the other day, but you got to be careful about boasting health effects. So you got to be careful with that. But it helps you to really just kind of build up your constitution, strengthen your immune system, control your weight, and I guess I can't talk about hormonal stuff, but it really does help to get your whole system into balance. And for pain,
yes.
there's different settings, so you can do it more on a lower setting for immune system. You can do it on a higher setting to really sweat and purge and detox, which a lot of people have had really good success with, between, heavy metals and Lyme disease and, and stuff to help, help to heal from cancer and stuff. But, and anywhere in between is relaxation and pain management. So I love that thing. I just ordered a bunch. They're going out like hotcakes.
Wow.
And they're not cheap. And I guess there are different models out there that they're imitators, but we've stuck with this brand just because that's the upper echelon and the best of the best. So I love my biomat, and I am really, just happy to just share it. There's a YouTube video talking about how much I love my biomat.
Oh,
and,
excellent! I'll look for that.
And my goal is to have a biomat on every table in our clinic. So far we've got 4 of them in the clinic.
Wow! Now it was very interesting hearing you give a scientific explanation for the biomat, but I think it's magic, and I will continue to believe that it's just magic.
It is magical. It really is magical. But it's really nice to, and that's kind of what I love about what I'm doing is that we're doing this kind of there's some acupuncturists that are very ethereal and very zen, and their feet kind of float, a little bit off the ground. And it's great, and it's just a different practitioner, and that's kind of the yin version of the healer and whatever. I'm kind of the yang version that I think energetic and just working on people's energy, but it's also really substantial to make sure that you support that with evidence-based practice, because that's when people trust you. So
good point. Susan, this has been fascinating. I thank you so much for being here today. This has really, really been interesting. And I'm going to check in with you later on and find out
borrow the biomat.
Yeah, and borrow the bio. Oh, gosh, yes. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
This has been The Vineyard View. I'm your host, Ann Bassett, saying, keep your eye on MVTV. And as Susan said, do something every day. Move, stretch, walk, Sit up in your chair. Keep moving.